Hey, practice owners. Steve Barker, the editor-in-chief of the Profitable Dentist here with one of my favorite people in dentistry, Christine Taxin, Links2Success. How you doing, Christine?
I'm doing great, Steve.
Well,
Always when I'm talking with you, I'm doing great.
awesome. Well, likewise. We were talking beforehand, all the sort of the travel changes and I know you speak a lot. Any meeting that includes something to do with insurance or billing, like you're the person.
Yeah.
And just, the difficulties of travel and getting back up and going and, which really plays into what we're going to talk about here tonight, is a little bit about your insurance extravaganza, of course, but really why it's important and how medical dental billing has evolved, changed, and really what's going on right now that I thought was important to share with our readers and listeners and viewers that we talked about several weeks ago. And I think you just finished a speaking gig, so I appreciate you taking the time to share that with us.
Oh, yeah, it was great. I went to,
You did Ohio, right?
yeah, I was
Ohio
out in Ohio. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was good meeting.
People at dentists are out.
They were out. There was no lack of people. Let's put it that way.
Good.
Everybody came. Everybody was happy. And they did a great job laying out the classrooms, laying out the exhibits. So it was done excellent. It was done very well.
And I know that's sort of a thing in our business in dentistry with practice owners who, you learn so much, you only learn so much in dental school. What's always interesting to me is you learn enough to be a dentist in dental school, and then your practice owner education begins the day you get out. And it really doesn't stop. And so the only place to get those kind of courses and that kind of information are the state meetings and the national meetings. And a year and a half of kind of the clunkiness of that has, created a lot of anxiety, and hopefully yours. So before we get too far away from it, I want to make sure we mentioned your third annual insurance extravaganza. It is November 12th and 13th in Sheraton Lake Buena Vista in Orlando, Florida.
Yes, sir.
You ever notice, Christine, there are never any dental meetings in like Flint, Michigan? They're always Orlando, and which I'm fine with. I'm perfectly fine with.
Well, I mean, November, wouldn't you want to be in Orlando?
Right. And it's a great place. Yeah, I know the space, the event space is awesome. But more importantly, it's a topic that we've talked about in the past, that dental insurance really kind of didn't exist for a long time. It was sort of prepaid dental. And in about a decade or so ago, dental insurance started to firm up. And now what we're seeing that you've become sort of the expert in, some part of it, I think, being married to a dentist, but just being in this world, is the things that the treatments that can get paid, but not under dental, but certainly under medical and dental practice. So I know when you started your first insurance extravaganza, a lot of people might think, it's dental insurance, watch a video. But what you really do is focus on not just how to get, pro fees and crowns covered, but the medical components of dentistry that are really taking over, implants and sleep. And that's what we want to talk about here real quickly is that you're obviously going to talk about your extravaganza, but here tonight you can learn a lot. Can you real quickly, you told me that there are new 2022 codes coming out that are medical, dental, I don't know, would they be like merging codes, or how do they work?
Cross-coding. You could take a dental code and then cross-code it to a medical code so that you could bill medical. But we're going to talk about all the new codes, the dental codes coming out in January, and then all the new diagnostic codes and all of the new medical codes. But there's a caveat that I forgot to tell you. Okay. Diagnostic coding is coming to dentistry.
Okay.
And there are a lot of diagnostic reasons why dental has asked for them.
Okay.
So we have to stay updated, absolutely updated every year. I mean, because and the biggest change that I'm seeing is patients are engaging in treatment with more knowledge than they ever had because of this COVID lockdown. They know what the word transmission is. They really know it. And something that dentistry has not done enough of is the word transmission.
Okay.
Caries are transmittable. They're even transmittable amongst family because you kiss one another, you share a fork with a birthday cake at a dinner table, or drink out of somebody's cup. And that is really how we need to look at all of the insurances, because that's the diagnostic reason.
So if, and again, the diagnostic part of it is not something that, if you've got a good, if you're a practice owner listening tonight, you have an office manager who's awesome and has learned how to get things covered. And one of the things that, I know you and I have talked about a lot, and I hear a lot, is somebody who took a bunch of implant courses or took a lot of sleep courses or bought, they're doing CBCT scans, and they think, well, why should I bother with that? I can't get paid for them. Well, you can get paid for them, but dental insurance won't pay for them. And so the sort of the magic with what you do is help somebody who is a really good insurance biller, somebody, you don't need to fire your insurance person, hire somebody new. They can make that transition. And is that sort of, when you say cross-coding, it's not as easy as buying a book and, here's the code anymore. They have to be a little bit higher level medical insurance coder than they used to be, a year ago or 2 years ago in just dentistry, right?
Yes. I've always felt really strongly about the billers in dentistry, that doctors can go to jail because coding is incorrect, but yet they hand over the coding to someone who truly never had education.
Right.
And, whether or not, whatever you bill, the education is needed, because this is the doctor's livelihood. There is no other way to make an ROI work. Right. Except knowing how to bill it. And that's the important part of acceptance of treatment plans and all of that. So that's why I really, truly believe that this is such a needed educational tool for people in offices. And it doesn't matter whether you're in network or out of network, because any claim submitted has the doctor's MPI number on it. So he's ultimately responsible, even if the patient paid you and just walked away with a super bill. Don't you put it into their own plan?
Do you kind of see it as and this is sort of my interpretation, that it is that dental insurance, again, really was prepaid dental for a long time. There were no rules. It was the Wild West. And then there was sort of structure around it. NPI numbers came along. We sort of create a little bit of structure like they did over in medical, but really this year, 2022, is becoming more about, you can't just fake it anymore. You can't just dabble in it and do it and file some claims and they get paid or not. That it really is on the road to becoming one thing.
Yeah. It is merging. Even the claim form, the dental claim form, adopted the medical claim form regulations. So when you fill out a dental claim form comes January, you can't use upper right or lower left anymore. When you're doing like a quadrant of dentistry or a quadrant of scaling, you have to use the number system that the medical claim uses. Okay. So it's 0-0 now for full mouth, or 10 for the lower left. These are important changes. And who's teaching that? No one.
Well, yeah. In the past, there was no, you bought a coding book and, the doc said, here, I get this every year, read it and let's get better reimbursements. And, one of the things that I've noticed, you and I've talked about this many times, is the gap in production and collections just keeps getting bigger. And so what it boils down to is, as a practice owner, if your collections versus production, your reimbursement drops 10%, you have to do 15% more production to make the same reimbursement, the same money.
Absolutely.
Or you can understand how to do it a little bit smarter and better, that you teach that. And again, so here's what I see, Christine. Anybody listening tonight, a practice owner who takes insurance, is going to do this eventually. They're going to reach it, whether it's 2023 or 4 or 5. Their insurance person is going to have to know medical terminologies, medical forms, medical rules, one way or the other. So imagine the money that you lose, the production you do that you don't get paid for between now and then. And that's what always, when somebody asks me, should I do this? That's one of the things I always say. I don't know. Can you afford not to do it? I mean, for the cost of a course, in Orlando, for crying out loud, you can learn how to fill in. I mean, really, one case pays for the course, plus you're going to have to do it anyway. So I had a couple notes here, and I wanted to make sure that we stayed on topic, because I know your courses are just like drinking from a fire hose sometimes. But you do a really good job. I'm going to sell you a little bit here. You do a really good job of being very accessible and a lot of follow-up with anybody who comes to your courses. I know you guys have the sort of the Christine University products that, keep up to date. But this year is very important, again, because of 2022 codes. I had down here some notes about who should attend. And, we had talked about practice managers. Really, it's kind of anybody that's involved in insurance or getting reimbursed somehow for any treatment. And I guess what I wanted to say there is it's not, Crown and Bridge and pro fees, but it's anything you might be doing in the future, back to your diagnosis, element, that anybody related to that, an office manager who just really, even if they need to understand it at a high level, needs to understand what's coming, and rather than reacting to it, get in front of it, and you do 2 great days of it. So is that who should attend? Should docs attend?
I have a lot of doctors that attend and tell me that it was great. They want to know they really do want to know what is out there, what is changing. They've taken courses. I'll never forget, I had a doctor from Alabama come, and he said he's been doing Botox for temporal mandibular for years and always had to charge the patient. And now he's getting reimbursed on every claim, and like this year, the FDA is changing rules, which is going to make it even more accessible to get Botox for migraines and other issues. So it changes all the time. Look at what Botox is paid, for God's sakes.
Right.
I mean, so it's an amazing concept when you think about it. Now, of course, it's not Botox for your eyelids,
right?
But there's a lot of patients that are using Botox, myofunctional therapy. So I don't limit the attendance just to doctors or managers. A lot of hygienists come because they're doing myofunctional therapies, and they should know how to get paid. They should know how to bill for it.
Right.
And the other change with hygiene is the staging and grading that the APP put out. And it's going to change everything about the way people do billing, because there is really very little happening without being able to bill for it, because patients are asking for it.
Well, you also are getting away from, I'm not going to mention any, big evil insurance companies by name, but Delta Dental is not going to come to you and say, we're going to increase what we reimburse for crowns, Crown and Bridge. Never going to happen. We're going to increase what we pay for a bite wing. It is never going to happen. So your capacity to do billing at some point needs to be more. And there are a lot of good tools to do that.
Yes.
I wanted to sort of why somebody should attend. You had told me that there is and I've got 4 things here, why somebody should attend. There are really 4 things that even if they don't come to your event, things that they better know going into 2022, but they come home with from your extravaganza each year. One is how to register or get started with a secondary NPI number.
Yep.
And you mentioned that to me a few weeks ago, and kind of in the context of, hey, you want to know how DSOs get paid for all of this? They know how to manage their NPI numbers. And
they're running a business.
Yeah.
DSOs are run by managers, business people.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we're doing different this year, Steve, is we're going to have a course before they come to the meeting. For everybody that's registered, it's going to have an online course with me on what they need to do to get ready for the updated billing information.
Okay.
How to register for an MPI, how to do all those things so they can get it. And everything we teach on that end is free to the doctor. There's no selling involved. It's just educational, and it makes them a better business. So, it saves money and time.
Well, and you're right there. So there's I mean, it's all legal, but there is a scheme, a method that they're getting reimbursed a lot, especially for big cases and for medical procedures, that, somebody listening tonight is going to go in tomorrow and say, hey, Mary Jane, how are we doing with those? And she says, they all get denied. Well, they don't need to get denied. And one is that sort of super secret secondary NPI number. The other is to get set up for Medicare. What did you tell me? Medicare Advantage.
Yeah.
That is a way of getting that. There's a way you have to do that to get billed, probably mostly for implants, I would think, or larger, those kind of cases, right?
Yeah. Well, Medicare Advantage is a purchase plan by baby boomers. And there's a lot more baby boomers than there are young people, And we've taken over the world, but we want to be as healthy as possible. We want to stay as healthy as possible. Normal Medicare does not cover for eyes, hearing, or your oral cavity. So Medicare Advantage, which is run by Humana, Aetna, Cigna, all of those people got involved in dental billing, or not dental billing, dental care, hearing care, because that's what the 65-year and older want. We didn't have it. And we've been begging to have it because we want it. And if you wait for Congress to give you anything, you're going to be waiting a long time. I'll probably never see it. So Medicare Advantage came about. And let me tell you, more Medicare 65 years and older, there's 78% and growing are buying Medicare Advantage plans. And patients are getting the dental treatment, the oral cavity treatment that they've wanted to, couldn't afford to do when they were raising 5 kids or 4 kids, or never even thought about it. And now after this whole debacle of COVID, people are realizing what that word transmission is.
So you're seeing, so what you see is, you'll see somebody who is 65 or 66, come into the office. They want implants. I always tease and say, they want to spend their kids' inheritance on them. And while you're, somebody listening tonight, a practice owner says, that's $22,317. The DSO down the street is saying, hey, we'll file that under Medicaid Advantage or Medicare Advantage. And it's a fraction of that, and there's some third-party financing, our good friends at Care Credit fill the rest. But you got a patient who can walk out of there with a very large case, and it's all taken care of, or mostly taken care of, by either insurance and a little bit of financing, but only if you're doing medical. Not dental at all.
Not very there's very little dental coverage under regular Medicare has none. Let's put it that way.
Right.
Unless you're in a hospital.
Okay.
But Medicare Advantage has several different plans, and the ones we concentrate on are the Medicare Advantage plans that have medical billing, because let's face it, atrophy is a normal thing for a 65-year and older in all parts of our body. It just happens.
Right.
Okay. So, and you know, you've had silver fillings, which we don't even use anymore. We didn't have remineralization. So they are losing teeth. They are losing bone, and bone grafts and implants are a big need. Very big need,
and expensive.
And so we can show you how to work with that on all of the Medicare Advantage plans and give you the ability to recognize who's a Medicare Advantage and who's really just Medicare.
Okay. And that's,
you want to be able to even educate your own patients.
Right. Who are coming in, you know, if you have that older patient base, or just older patients, you know, they come in expecting it. And at the end of the day, like you said, if you can't, you know, if you're telling them it's this much, and, you know, the DSO down the street's telling them it's this much, you know, for them, it's the same treatment. And, you know, anybody listening tonight, whether you go to the extravaganza or not, it's a thing that you're going to have to do at some point, or just miss out on, or lose patients.
Absolutely. Yeah. So why leave that money on the table? I still have plenty of doctors that are fee-for-service only, but they've added the medical billing in so that the patient can have the ability to at least get something back.
Right.
See, they're still paying the bills. Even, you know, I have a doctor that I work with. He's not on any plans, but he actually went in network with 3 medical plans. He still hasn't changed his philosophy of getting paid up front. He still gets paid up front. He bills for the patient, and they get reimbursed. They get reimbursed. He's not getting reimbursed. They're getting reimbursed. And the only thing he does is discount it. But let me tell you, if you're doing a bone graft for $800, medical pretty much pays that. Right? But if you're doing a bone graft for $800 under dental, that takes up 90% of their plan.
Right.
So where are they getting the rest of the money anyway? So that's a big ticket item for a lot of people.
It is for me. I can tell you. Okay. I had 5, you know, I raised 5 kids. I'm still trying to dig out of that hole.
Yeah, well, me too.
You groundwork, number 3, the third thing they bring home or should have anyway, whether they, you know, go to your extravaganza, one of the 4 things they need to have is at least laying the groundwork for certification in medical coding. Yes. Which we've never had to do. There is no certification in dental coding, right?
No. And now we're going to have certification. I didn't remember to tell you this, but we have an Advantage dental plan, advanced dental certification now also.
Okay.
And each medical procedures are broken up into modules. So an office manager doesn't have to know everything. A biller doesn't have to know everything. They could concentrate. If their doctor's doing sleep apnea, take that certification. Learn it, take it, be certified. It's a certification backed by the AMA because they approved my books.
Right.
So it's not me getting the certification. I want to be very clear. It's not a company certification.
Right.
The courses are taken online, run by a company that does all types of certification for medical. And medical works the same way. You get modules of certification because, let's face it, you go to a doctor, he sends you to a specialist. So it could be endocrinology or orthopedics or whatever. So we did the same exact thing. We certify them in modules so that they could absorb that one module, be really good at it, and move to the next module. if the doctor decides he wants to do implants and bone grafts or oral surgery or whatever.
Right.
So it's easier and more attainable, but backed by the AMA, because my books had to be approved by them. So,
and that's the neat thing about your cross-coding. And, you know, again, for the third item, at least getting groundwork for certification. This is something that's never existed in dentistry.
no,
It already exists in medicine, has for, you know,
yes,
decades probably, and will happen at some point. And you, again, you don't give the certification necessarily, but if somebody went to your course, or even if they're just listening tonight, if they're a doc who owns a practice, they should get that process started with their insurance biller. You know, their office manager should start that process of medical coding, a certified medical coder, because at some point you're going to have that, or you're just, you know, you're not going to do anything.
It's not even about having to have it. I think it's better for the doctor to know that this person's educated in it,
yeah,
and can process those claims without a mistake. Because we're all human, right? I mean, we all make mistakes. I make mistakes every day. I was late today because I'm looking at the clock and I misread the clock. People make mistakes, but you are less prone to an error when you have some education in the back of your mind. You'll remember it when you look at it that you made a mistake.
Well, I always think it's interesting that if I'm a practice owner and the doc who owns it, and I'm back there doing all this work, and suddenly I don't get paid for it because of a clerical issue, and I'm, you know, cussing out the insurance company, which you should, you know, you can still do, but it has nothing to do with my treatment. It has nothing to do with the treatment plan. It has to do with how somebody checked a box or filled in a blank or put in a narrative. And it can mean, I mean, it can mean thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands a year. It doesn't have anything to do with production. It has to do with box checking. So, so certification helps is what it boils down to, or certainly gets you closer to it. The last thing, and this is really cool, I want to make sure we covered this because you showed me this the other day. You have, and whether they get it from a resource somehow, whether they, I don't know, figure it out, you know, however they do it. There is a guy who has built an online platform, really smart guy that is, I know, speaking at your event, he literally created this thing that helps make this connection. So you put in a dental code and it converts it to the medical code you need to be billing. And part of which again, any doc listening, their team's going to need to know how to do this. If you send a dental code to Humana, you know, medical, you know, they're going to just deny it and send it back. And you may never know that you never got paid for it. Right. But he actually has a thing where you put it in and it converts all these codes over, and does it bundle them? Is that what you showed me where it shows?
No, it's like what it does is say you take a bone graft.
Okay.
Let's say you use a bone graft code, and then you can put the bone graft in and you scroll down and it goes conversion or cross code. You press that and it gives you the codes that go to medical for a bone graft. Whichever one you chose. And then underneath that gives you the diagnostic areas to look at to make sure you're diagnosing the patient correctly.
To get paid. Which is the key to all.
So, I mean, it's an amazing tool. I use it every day. You cannot remember that many codes. You can't remember that many laws. You just can't anymore. So, you know, even at the meeting, I can't possibly teach everything because I'm not that smart. So I bring in the best of the best to teach their expert part, because it's almost impossible. And, you know, we all know a lot of really brilliant dentists. I know so many, and they tell me all the time, I don't know why we don't learn this in school.
Yeah.
But I've taught at the school level. They're not interested at that point.
Right.
They're only interested in practicing in the clinic.
Right.
They're ready for the clinic. That's all they care about, and that's all they want to do. And I'm happy for them, but your license is valuable. You've spent 4, 5 years, 6 years studying to get that license, and you could lose it because of an issue on claims.
Especially with medical, especially getting, and we both
Especially
know
with anything. Don't think it's just medical. Delta changed their laws again. They will no longer accept a written letter of medical necessity. They want a copy of your notes only. And have you read notes lately? They're text messages. They're not notes. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit too.
Okay. And that really is, the what we wanted to talk about. I always like our listeners and viewers and readers to get valuable content from the people that we talk to, and certainly do you. You're one of our you're one of the most sought after speakers at all of our events and magazine articles. And I know we generate a lot of interest, and I think that's sort of where the insurance extravaganza came from. Is okay, instead of Christine having 100 conversations in a day, let's narrow it down to having them 2 days in Orlando. So one of the things that I wanted to make sure that we covered is we're going to do, you have graciously, as you always do, we appreciate it, for Profitable Dentist readers and listeners and viewers, they can click the link below. They can learn more about exactly what you're talking about. Whether they come to the extravaganza or not, you have tons of resources.
Oh, yeah.
And we appreciate that. But if they do decide to go, there's a code TPD, as in the Profitable Dentist, and we'll put that below. Put it in, and you'll give them a 20% discount on the tuition. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, we appreciate that, and we've had a good relationship. I mean, with the magazine for
God,
many years.
Do we have to age ourselves?
No, please don't, because every time I do that, it gets me all teary-eyed and makes me I was walking through Target last night and saw all these kid toys, and we all joke because we both have a lot of kids. I have 5 kids, and I saw these little Legos and this little princess costume, and I get all emotional. And then I think, 2 of my kids are Marines, and they loved Legos, but that was 25 years ago. And, my daughter is all grown, but it goes fast, and you don't realize how much has changed. And this is an area that I think a lot of docs started out from dental school and thought, why in the world would I ever need to care about insurance? And now, if you want to get paid, you kind of need to care about insurance. It is hard to run a fee-for-service dental only practice these days. You can do it, but it's our business. I've got an entire magazine dedicated to it, and it can be done, but it is really hard. And the neat thing is there's so many things you can start to build, and it's fun. The docs that I see embracing things, they don't like implants, they like sleep. They like that you got something new to learn.
The docs love it. The hygienists love it, and they don't want a code.
Right.
But they have understood. Don't forget, there's a lot of hygienists that are now practicing on their own. And the funny thing was, one year in Oregon, they called me in January. Could you come? It's an emergency. They, of course, purchased their own practices and didn't realize they didn't know how to code. Okay. So, and the doctors having the hygienists there, when they can work on a profile for their hygiene department, that's including everything, including all the coronavirus issues that are coming up in patients. Not only the coronavirus that had the coronavirus, but now there's a new disease, mass mouth.
Yeah, that's what we talk.
How do you learn about these things if you're not at a meeting?
Well, and that's a good point. The networking that goes on, and I've been to your meetings obviously before, and the sort of it's interesting to watch somebody from an office in Oregon meet somebody from an office in Iowa, and they all seem to sort of start to share. And I know I've watched them in the past where, it seems like they talk to each other, afterwards. And there's sort of I know you have a lot of groups that somebody gets an odd treatment and, says, hey, the doc wants to do this. Can we get paid for it? And bam, yes, you can. And here's how. And rather than taking a shot at it and not getting reimbursed, and now you got either a mad patient or cases you can't do. That's part of it too, is the networking as they're learning medical codes and cross-coding and treatments that, your physicians already know how to do and get paid for, that you're stumbling through it. It's a good community.
Yeah. We put a map up on dental medical billing for the doctors that got trained, that come to the extravaganza and then gotten trained and continue, making sure because 1 year free on it, because I get so many patients looking for doctors that will bill medical.
Right.
And I can't remember anymore. Oh yeah, go to this doctor in Kansas or go to this doctor over here. So they're on the map.
Okay.
Their address, and it's like a referral source. So that patients that are looking can go to the map and find a doctor that has the knowledge. And one of the other things we do is if they're not sure how to bill their first case, we're going to help them.
Yeah. And that's a hard thing. And that's, to kind of wrap it up, I wanted to make sure we covered sort of the who, what's, when, where's. And I think we have. I think, again, if any doc who's listening, it doesn't cost you anything to say, hey, we need to go get a secondary NPI number. We need to learn how to set up Medicare Advantage billing. We need to start the certification for medical coding. And we need to find a resource to convert dental to medical. They can do that on their own. Or you can do it at 2 days in Orlando. So, Christine, as always, you are a wealth of knowledge. Like I said, I've heard it described as drinking from a fire hose. And one of the things you do really well, again, is the follow-up. I know you've got a very, when you speak, you're one of those people that every time you're at a meeting and you speak and you say, I'll be at the back of the room afterwards, there's like the crowd that surrounds you.
Yes.
And it's really awesome. And anybody who if you can't tell, Christine's about 6'2", ballpark. So I'll leave the listeners with this. One of my favorite meetings, we were in Destin, and it was one of the profitable dentist meetings. And I first realized, and I have to, I do the shift between speakers and go up and introduce and all this. And you had started to take questions and you came down off the stage. And I don't know if you remember this. And I was looking around and I could hear you talking because you had the microphone and couldn't see you. Christine's about, how tall are you?
Maybe 5 feet.
Maybe 5 feet with heels. And, and she's just, all in conversation, and I absolutely could not see you anywhere. So we had to look around but you are the medical dental person. And, anybody listening tonight, we've got some links that they're going to pop in below. If you want to just learn about Christine, if you want to get some free resources online, if you want to check into the event, they'll all be below. If you want to get 20% off, use the code when you're asked, use TPD, the Profitable Dentist. And Christine, as always, it's a joy talking to you.
Well, it's a joy talking to you. And thank you for all the doctors that are listening also. Yeah. And what you do for them is amazing.
Well,
I always love working with you because you give so much to the doctors.
It's a tough business. And I appreciate it's, I'm a business owner by, it's what I've done, even dental practices. And the thing that, I know your husband, Paul's a dentist, and, we love Paul. It's what's interesting to me is there's no other industry like dentistry, where you get an education in a technical field and then suddenly you're an entrepreneur. And so I like to bring what I've learned, the hard lessons in entrepreneurship to dentists who really don't want to do it. They don't want to learn this stuff. They just want to do dentistry. But unfortunately, if you're a practice owner, which roughly 8.5 out of 10 dentists are, you have to do it. So you do a nice job of helping them make their practice run a little smoother, make a little more money, make what they do, get paid for what they do instead of doing the work and, not getting paid for it. So
I've
I appreciate
learned that there's no money tree in any backyard that I know of.
I haven't found it.
Actually, in dentists, okay?
Yeah.
So we all go to work every day. We have to make a living. And guess what? The people that work for the doctor, they also have to go to work every day and make a living. So isn't it better that we do it together and really fight that battle? Because we can grow a money tree, but you can't find one without that.
Yeah, this dentistry is changing. And as I said, that insurance isn't going to reimburse you more. Patients aren't going to pay you more for, plain old crown and bridge. So this is a way to really take advantage of the situation. At the end of the day, the big groups, this is how they're getting bigger. And, either you can, think you can wait it out, or you can dive in and, start now and, get a few of those patients back. So Christine, thanks again. And practice owners, thanks for tuning in. Until next time, Steve Parker, the Profitable Dentist Magazine. And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.